Stretching for over 1,000 miles along the Pacific coastline of South America, the Atacama Desert is the oldest and driest non-polar desert on the planet, comprising most of the northern third of Chile and even pushing into the southern regions of Peru. The Atacama Desert covers an enormous area. The absolute best place to go to visit this incredible desert is the town of San Pedro de Atacama in the north of Chile. From here, it's possible to see the best that this desert has to offer, from the lunar landscapes of Valle de la Luna and the early morning steam show at the Tatio Geysers to the salt-filled lakes and high-altitude lagoons south of the town. And all of this before you even consider that the Atacama Desert is one of the best places in the world to go stargazing due to the incredibly low light pollution in the area.
If you're new here, we're Kitty and John, and we love to travel and experience new cultures. Whether we're doing multi-day treks in the Andes Mountains or simply relaxing on the pristine beaches of Mexico, our passion for travel never seems to fade. Recently, we've been spending much of our time in South America and have really fallen in love with the continent. So make sure to subscribe if you want to see more of our adventures from this beautiful part of the world. San Pedro de Atacama is a medium-sized town in the north of Chile, sitting in the shadows of the towering Miscanti volcano, and is the main hub for tourism in the region. The main street through the dusty town center is lined from top to bottom with tour agencies offering all sorts of excursions, as well as countless souvenir shops to browse through. You won't have any trouble finding souvenirs in San Pedro. However, the main attractions are going to be outside of town, so it's best to use as a base to explore the surrounding area from. While stores are always a good option, we highly recommend hiring a car to explore the desert area. Most of the roads are actually paved and in pretty good condition. However, we recommend hiring either a 4x4 or a car with a higher clearance to make sure you can explore everything that the area has to offer. Once you get off the main roads, you'll be mostly driving on either compacted dirt or gravel roads. Some of them are in better condition than the others, and some can be full of potholes even if it's tarmac. Generally speaking, if you drive carefully, you won't have any trouble getting around in a hired car, and we always enjoy the freedom of just stopping wherever we want to and staying as long as we want to instead of being herded around in a tour.
After picking up our truck the day before, we headed out early the next morning and drove through some crazy rock formations just outside of town to arrive at our first destination, the Valle de la Muerte.
So I just arrived to our first stop here in the Atacama Desert. Very close to home. It's only about 10 minutes outside of San Pedro, so it's a nice one for us to do today because we're still a little bit tired after the 24 hours plus we spent on buses in the last couple of days. We've come out pretty early. We're currently the only ones here, which is very nice. And what does this place remind you of?
Like Cochina, no?
Yeah.
We had to climb those sand dunes. I remember that was pretty hard and difficult to climb the sand dunes, even though they look easy.
Yeah,
so
it's a big
we'll
one.
See how long it will take us to get up there.
Yeah, the camera doesn't do it justice. It's a pretty big sand dune. And I think this is where in the afternoons sometimes they have like sandboarding tours. They come here and you can sandboard down here just like we did in Huacachina as well.
That was kind of cool. So.
Yeah, it's already getting pretty hot around 9 o'clock and we don't want to be out in the sun too long. So the idea is to come out early-ish, do this little hike, go back to the apartment for a while during the middle of the day, and then come back out in the evening to do another location here close to San Pedro. At least they've made a nice little path. You don't have to go like straight up the dune like we did in Huacachina.
Look at the view.
Yeah.
Oh, you know what's worth than hiking a sand dune? Hiking a sand dune at altitude.
That really got my heart rate up. And we literally just came from there.
Oh, we're so unfit, aren't we?
That was
Not for
hard.
altitude.
But yeah, the view, pretty crazy. A bit hazy right now in the morning. I think it'll be much better in the evening at sunset. But hopefully we're going to be somewhere just as good this evening for the sunset. Such a crazy landscape. A little bit Cappadocia for sure, with all these rocks, formations that you can sort of walk through. And then you've got the dunes here, which remind us of Huacachina and Peru. And then the Andes Mountains, volcanoes and everything in the background, which some of them still have a little bit of snow on, which you won't be able to see with this camera. But yeah, there's still some snow on them, which tells you just how high we are. Just mad. This place is crazy. It really is like you're on another planet. You can see why they call it the Mars Valley as well as the Death Valley, because you wouldn't want to be out here in the middle of the day, that's for sure. whilst it may be quite close to San Pedro, an easy sort of trip in the sense that you don't have to get up too early, it's definitely not the easiest physically. With the altitude, the sand dune is very difficult to climb. You know what it's like trying to walk in the sand. You go one step back for every 2 steps forwards. And then the track that we're now taking to the Mirador has also turned into sort of a dune and sand. That's not making life easy either. We haven't been at altitude for almost a year now. Definitely tough on the system. Nice breeze blowing at the moment, which is definitely helping.
The hike to the Mirador from the car park took us about 10 to 15 minutes, and whilst it was pretty tough on the lungs and the legs, the views of the valley from the top were more than worth the effort. After soaking in the incredible views, it started to get seriously hot, so we headed for the car and drove back to our apartment to shelter from the heat through the middle of the day.
We're now in the Valley of the Moon, or Valle de la Luna, and what's immediately noticeable, the difference between this valley and Death Valley we were in this morning, is the amount of salt in this valley. It looks almost like a lunar landscape. The salt is just covering the ground everywhere you look. Like over this side, it's even more apparent, just lining all the floor and the rocks up here. Salt everywhere. Really is like you're on the surface of the moon.
We initially drove all the way to the end of the valley, so our first stop was the Tres Marias rock formation. Very short path leads to an interesting looking rock, but if you're short on time, we wouldn't necessarily say it's worth the stop. Our next stop was the Victoria mine, where we could do a short circular trail through the old mine. There's some old machinery to look at, but the main reason to do the hike is for the beautiful views you can get of the salt-encrusted valley in front of you. After the mine, our next stop was by far our favorite and one we would recommend above all others. The Mirador at Chaxa's hike takes you on a there and back trail to some stunning lookout points that offer 360-degree views of the Moon Valley and the mountain range beyond.
This place is incredible. This beautiful black dune, beautiful sand, and then all these rock formations, and then the valley down here full of salt, snow-capped mountains, volcanoes. Where are we? Unbelievable.
Not on Earth.
No, really unearthly. Definitely recommend doing the long hike within Valle de la Luna. It's really, really beautiful. The views, you just get panoramic 360-degree views all the way around. The nice thing about it is that the tour groups do not come up here. You saw all the vans down by the dune, so they all go up the dune, and then there's a little walkout you can do out there. So if you do have your own vehicle and you're exploring the Atacama on your own, highly recommend doing the longer hike because very few people, and the views I think were probably even better than what you get from the top of the dune. Top tip.
We decided to skip walking up to the dune due to the amount of people that were up there, and also because we felt like we've got some pretty amazing views of it already from the previous Mirador. To end the day, we drove out of the valley and up to Mirador Carry, which offers panoramic views of the Valle de la Luna and is included in your Moon Valley entry ticket. It's one of the most popular places to watch the sunset, so expect it to be busy, but the golden light playing off the rock formations in the valley below more than makes up for the crowds.
The next morning, we drove a short distance south of San Pedro out onto the huge salt flats to visit a few nearby lagoons, the first of which was the incredibly salty Laguna Cejar.
One thing to be aware of here at Laguna Cejar is that they have very strict policy on sort of exit entry. If you book the slot 9 till 10 like we did, then you literally have 9 till 10 at the site. I thought maybe you just had to arrive between that time and you could stay a little longer. You need to be out by 10 o'clock. It's not a big place. I think an hour is all you need, but just so you're aware, if you book the 9 to 10 slot, come at 9 o'clock so you can maximize your time. So the unique thing about Laguna Cejar and the other laguna here is that one of the lagoons has a salt concentration that is pretty much as high as the Dead Sea. You can easily float in it. You get a very similar experience to what you would if you were going to Jordan or somewhere like that. Never been in water that's that salty. Kind of excited to see what that's like. Almost feel like weightless in the water. It'd be good for you too.
Yeah, but usually shave, then don't shave just before you come, Alfred. I think I know why.
That could be painful.
You can only get into the water on one of the lagoons, and the guides suggest you don't spend more than 5 to 10 minutes in the water due to the incredibly high salt and chemical content. When you're lying on your back, it almost feels like somebody is pushing you up from below, and I didn't even have to think about keeping myself afloat, which made for a very relaxing few minutes.
You do get absolutely caked in salt. My whole arms, shoulders, everything, I don't know if you can see on the camera, just absolutely covered in salt everywhere. You don't realize just how high the salt concentration is until you get out and you dries on your skin. Very cool experience. Not many places in the world you can have an experience like that.
After rinsing all the salt off of our bodies as best we could, we hopped back in the car and drove a little further south to Laguna Tebinquiche. Before getting to the lagoon though, we had to stop to admire the Ojos del Salar, 2 almost perfectly round pools in the ground that cast a beautiful reflection on their surfaces. Then we drove on to Laguna Tebinquiche, a semi-dry lagoon that basically looks like a mini version of the salt flats in Bolivia and the north of Argentina. This is supposedly a popular spot to watch the sunset from, although we didn't get the chance during our visit.
Very, very different landscape to yesterday. Desert here is so flat that you can see for miles and miles and miles. And you can still see all the way behind me where we were yesterday with all of the crazy rock formations. It's just totally different from here, which is just flat salt bed. And a lot of this area that we're driving along today is just a massive salt flat.
After spending the middle of the day escaping the heat again, we headed south in the afternoon to visit Laguna Chaxa, best known for its large colony of flamingos. We received some information at the visitor center and then were able to do a short walk around the salt bed where we were initially a little disappointed with our flamingo sightings.
Well, you come here to see flamingos and there they are. As you can see, unless you have a large lens or a binoculars or something, you're not going to see them super close. Definitely suggest if you are coming here, bring something that you can use to sort of zoom in a little bit to really appreciate them in their natural habitat.
Having said that, we then finished our walk and ended up at a really great viewing area where there were some flamingos feeding right next to us, and the birds would also regularly fly right over us as they went from one feeding area to another.
So the flamingos feed on this tiny animal, this shrimp called Artemia. We saw them when we came in a little capsule, but I couldn't figure out where they were in the water. And then I realized all these like red areas of the water that I thought was just like algae or something, that is all the shrimp. Just masses and masses of them, millions of shrimp. Flamingos just feed on tons and tons of that. There's so many of them just in this tiny pool of water.
We spent a couple of hours watching the flamingos against this beautiful backdrop, and as the sun went down, it bathed the whole scene in a gorgeous golden glow. It was definitely one of our favorite experiences during our stay in San Pedro.
The next morning, we were up early to drive about an hour south of San Pedro to the small town of Cejar. Here you pay a joint entry fee at the check-in building, which includes a visit to both the Lagunas Miscanti and Piedras Rojas. Both locations are at or above 4,000 meters, so you'll be gaining quite a bit of altitude from San Pedro. Thankfully, neither of them require a great deal of walking, so we recommend just taking it slow and admiring the beautiful scenery as you go. Just make sure to bring some warm clothes with you because it is a lot colder up there than it is in San Pedro. We decided to drive to Lagunas Miscanti first, as they are the closer of the two locations to Cejar. The majority of the road to get there is really nicely paved, and the landscape is absolutely stunning. It's not very busy either, and the roads are super straight, so it's the perfect place to play around with some road photos. Eventually, we turned off the main road and onto a dirt track which snaked up to the lagoons. We spotted plenty of adorable vicuñas on the way up, always seemed to like chilling by the side of the road, and then arrived at the stunning Laguna Miscanti.
Up here at Miscanti Lagoon, we're about 4,200 meters at altitude, so we've really come up about 2,000 meters, which is crazy. You could tell how much we gained just from coming up from the salt plain. Don't feel the altitude here, thankfully, because we're just walking on the flat. But the views here, just spectacular. Like, you really feel like you're in the high Andes now. Beautiful.
It's not even that cold.
No.
Like, you need your fleecy a little bit, but
Yeah.
I think I'll be in shorts soon.
Yeah, it's pretty temperate. Look at these views.
After our short walk next to Miscanti Lagoon, we headed across to Laguna Miniques, which is smaller but looks equally beautiful sitting underneath the towering volcano behind it. If you're lucky, you might also see some vicuñas and flamingos down by the shore.
Drove back to the main road and then continued further to Piedras Rojas. Before getting to the car park, there's a small lay-by at the side of the road where you can get a great overview of the area you're about to visit. Once at the side, we started the short walk downhill to the lagoon itself. There are plenty of places to stop and take in the views along the way, and we immediately noticed the reason for the site's name. Piedras Rojas means red rocks in Spanish, and we think you'll agree that it's very appropriate. Eventually, we arrived down at the shores of the salty lake and spent a good while soaking up the views of this incredible landscape we were in. On our final day in San Pedro, we were up before the sun to drive up to the Tatio Geysers. The road together is about 80 kilometers of compacted dirt, which for the most part is in good condition. It really is an absolutely stunning drive up into the high Andes and is a highlight in and of itself. But once we got to the geyser field, all thoughts of the drive to get there were forgotten.
So we've just arrived to the third largest geyser field in the world and the highest geyser field in the world, El Tatio, just outside of San Pedro. The drive up here was beautiful this morning. Look at what the payoff is in front of me. It's incredible. Look at this place. Even in Yellowstone, we didn't see geysers this high, and the light is so nice right now. Definitely recommend coming a little bit later. It does open at 6, but all of the tour vans arrive for 6, so I've heard you have to wait quite a long time to do the check-in process. If you come a little bit later like we did, we arrived around 7:45, 8. The light is still beautiful, the geysers are still really large, and we just checked in straight away, no issues, and all the tour vans are leaving at this time. So definitely a top tip if you're coming by yourself. Ooh. Yeah, a whiff of it now. Doesn't actually smell as bad as I thought it would. Like, I'm right in the smoke here. It doesn't smell that bad. Sometimes you get the whiff of the sulfur.
So now it's about 8:40. Don't forget it's kind of winter time now, and the geysers seem to be calming down now because the air is warming up a little. I mean, it's still cold, but for them it's not really as active anymore. So if you come between 7:30 and 8:30, that's kind of the best time to avoid the tours and to have a nice light, as well as obviously the geysers being active.
Yeah.
So that's just a little tip.
This is so cool.
That's incredible.
There are actually 2 separate areas you can walk around at the site, and after spending some time at the first one, we hopped in the car and quickly drove to the second one.
We are pretty much the only ones here right now.
I know, that's cool.
So cool.
And they're still pretty active, and
Yeah.
now it's nearly 9 o'clock. Oh no, actually 9:15.
Yeah.
So bear in mind that it's kind of now autumn, so maybe in the height of summer it will be a bit different.
Also just wanted to mention that a lot of the reviews on Google say that the road leading up to the geysers is not very good. From our experience, I mean, we do have a truck. The majority of the road is absolutely fine. There are a couple of sections where it's a little bit ribbed, a bit like washboard style, but very short sections. And then the very final section just before you get to the geysers is a lot of potholes. So you just got to be a bit slow and careful on that bit. Definitely doable without a 4x4, because the website suggests using a 4x4, but it's definitely doable without one.
Even if the steam vents weren't quite as high as they would have been at 6 a.m., we think the opportunity to walk around the geyser fields pretty much all by ourselves was more than worth the compromise. In addition, with the sun a bit higher in the sky, the colors within the geysers stood out even more than they might have in the early morning. We were probably there until about 10 a.m., and it was only as we were leaving that we really noticed a significant drop in the steam levels. On the way back to San Pedro, we really had a chance to stop and appreciate the road that we had driven up in the morning, as well as some beautiful stops along it. The landscape really is incredible, and there is plenty of wildlife to spot as well, so don't rush on the journey back to town and stop often to appreciate the beauty of the high Andes. The Atacama Desert is a place of extremes, from its fluctuating temperatures during the day and at night to its high altitude above sea level and its severe lack of rainfall. For the most part, it is an inhospitable place, but it is also insanely beautiful, and each location we visited offered up something new and unique to look at. We absolutely loved our short stay in the desert, and it truly exceeded our expectations. It's obvious to us now why this is one of Chile's most popular tourist destinations. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to give it a like and consider subscribing if you want to see more content from this beautiful part of the world. We also have a travel blog where we go into much more detail about all of the locations that we've visited, so if you've seen somewhere in a video that you'd like to know more about, make sure to head on over there using the link in the description. Otherwise, we'll catch you right back here on the next adventure.